Looking for the best place to shop this Mother's Day? Go with the brand that makes it easy to send something thoughtful to everyone on your list. 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now at 1-800-Flowers, order 1 dozen roses and get another dozen free. More flowers mean more smiles, all backed by the quality, attention to detail, and trusted delivery experience that make 1-800-Flowers my top choice to send something beautiful Mom will love. Make Mom's Day at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wilton, joined by Sergeant Wilton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, I get on to one of my friends all of the time because his schedule is shit working in law enforcement. And there are times where he's off. And because he works graveyard, when he is off, it's very hard to be able to recalibrate to actually have some time to enjoy while you're off, while not disrupting your sleep schedule. And with him and a lot of other people that I've worked with, something that keeps coming up is finding it difficult to actually be able to not feel guilty when you are off and kind of give yourself that break.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because especially when it comes to sleep, that's one thing that we prioritize over anything is like our sleep is super important because it has that ripple effect throughout your day to day. But when you're not giving yourself permission to be able to have those days of rest or be able to just, be able to separate yourself from your job, from your career, you start facing those levels of burnout.
You know, the psychological concept here is called productivity-based self-worth. And Clint, you could probably attest to this, have been so guilty of this because for me, I feel like when I had that pause and those moments of solitude, there are times where I'm deliberate about it. But when there are other times to where I could either be sitting because you just put something on TV or pick up my laptop and open it up, a majority of the time, I would rather pick up my laptop and open it up in order to be able to do something productive. And, yesterday we kind of had a little bit of a strange day schedule-wise, and that stemmed from the fact that the day before we hadn't had pizza for some time. We ate pizza, you got home from work, and we had this carb overload. So both of us fell asleep at 5 p.m., didn't wake up until 3 a.m. the next morning. So that was pretty awesome. But that was something that kind of changed the dynamics of the flow throughout the rest of the following day. And I think that a lot of first responders, especially since you're so on all of the time, at least for productive departments, it can be really difficult to be able to shut that adrenaline off and to have that sense of peace and to just enjoy your relaxation time. Yeah,
we start trying to reach out, and I think this ties in not only to the profession where we're chasing those adrenaline dumps or those adrenaline highs and those dopamine hits. I think our society in general, we start, you go into the social media realm as people feel like they have to be on it all the time to get those dopamine hits, and you just crave it. It's an addiction in a whole different way, but it's being able to turn that off and disconnect yourself without having an agenda of this is what I have to do.
And don't get me wrong, there are tasks that are going to need to be done on your days off, right? That's a part of being an adult. But there are signs, I think, that rest guilt is affecting your recovery. And I think the first is that you, with intention, fill every single day off with tasks to do.
Yeah, when you pretty much have a long laundry list of things that you always have to do, and when you sit down for 5-10 minutes you feel like you're not being productive and that you have all this stuff that you have to be constantly doing, and if you don't achieve getting all the checklists done throughout that day, like you feel like you haven't accomplished anything, and even though you did accomplish a lot, just because that your plan didn't go as you had set forward.
So another sign that things are affecting your recovery is when you feel lazy, when you're not productive. And the thing that I think I've dialed in on with this one is that when I realize that my body is exhausted, I allow myself to not feel that level of guilt. I am not being lazy. It is literally the fact that I need to refuel, recharge in order to be able to be more productive.
Well, and that's something that's really good with you too, is when you recognize that you do that reward system where you say, okay, I achieved this. Now I'm going to go take a bath. I'm going to go work out. You find those avenues to let your mind reset in a way to be able to get you prepared for those next steps when and if you get to them.
Then you're so sweet because you look at me like, baby, what's the plan?
Yeah. And well, because I'm ebb and flow.
Well, you are. And that's another aspect to this is I try really hard to make sure that I'm also balancing my schedule when you're off to make sure that you're also getting that break and that rest.
Yeah. And you do a wonderful job at that because it's like, we have our routines, we have our things in place at how we get things done throughout the day. And like when you're working, and I know how when you have your schedule, especially on my days off, where if you have a lot of work, like I get that and I understand. And that's where I fill in my schedule of what I'm doing while you're working with the work to get done around the house, things that need to get done to help balance that to when you come downstairs and you're ready to, okay, I'm down here, I'm with you, all this other stuff's done, so it's not added on to what you have to do, and we can have that partnership, that team, to be able to accomplish the same goal.
The opposite side of that is that I've seen couples that they don't take that into consideration, to where the other partner, you and they both know that it's been a very challenging week, and they should be able to have that recovery time. And whether it's due to you as the spouse who's not respecting that, or your children, it can become a major problem that one might say, oh, well, it's because I need to be there for my wife and my kids, so to speak. But looking at it from the outside, it's very easy to be able to see, well, no, maybe your wife and kids need to be a little bit more considerate in giving you that level of break, because it is your day off and you've had such a hard week. And then that often requires you needing to step up and maybe do a little extra throughout the week or whatever it needs to be, so that day of rest can happen.
Yeah, and I think that we don't always recognize what specific rest is, and like we, in most of our minds, we think of, oh, well, we're just going to sit on the couch and watch TV. Well, not necessarily. It could be something as simple as just going out and grabbing lunch and just having that one-on-one time with your family where there's no agenda. It's just being able to have that time to rest, relax, where you're not just constantly moving.
We do that sometimes. We live in the middle of nowhere. So for us, it's like a 30-minute drive one way to go have a lunch date. And we don't want to spend more time than necessary just waiting on other people. So sometimes we'll just order food and we'll eat it in the vehicle and listen to music and kind of people watch a little bit. And then we come home, and even that little bit of a break, it gets you out of the minutia of being in the same environment and kind of breaking free from whatever the mental kind of continuation of thoughts is while you were at home.
Yeah, and it provides that breakup to be able to get you out of that normal go mentality. It's like hitting the reset button when you're playing a video game after you're stuck on a level that's taking forever that you cannot pass. And once you hit that reset button and you walk away from it for a minute and you come back to it, you're like, this was so easy. Like, why didn't I do that sooner?
Rest guilt is one of the quietest contributors to burnout and first responder culture that I have seen. And I think it's important to be able to do what you need to do to make sure that you can rest without the guilt. And one of the ways that you can do that is to literally just mentally reframe rest as a part of the job.
Yeah, when you recognize your rest cycle just as important as your work cycle, it starts reformatting your brain on making it okay to give yourself that time and space to be able to just do nothing.
This is kind of funny. It just came to me, but it makes absolute sense when we consider firefighters who literally have rest incorporated into a part of their job. If you, as a police officer, for example, were to be able to incorporate that rest, even though you're not on the clock getting paid for it, look at it that way, though. Look at it as it being just as important.
Yeah, and that's one thing that cops in general, we make fun of firefighters. Oh, sorry you had to get off your Xbox to come out here and help us. But
the truth is there's some envy there, because you know that they're getting that downtime. And even more so, they're getting paid for that downtime.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with us as cops is there is that envy, there is that jealousy that's there. It's like, well, they just get to sit around and play Xbox all day, and we actually have to work nonstop.
We also need to do a better job at setting boundaries around work on your days off, whether that means avoiding phone calls from people who might be calling you about work, or maybe not checking those work emails that you know is going to require you to be able to put in even more time than it took to just check the emails. It's important to make sure that you're protecting your peace when you're not on the clock.
And like for me, this is what I typically do. If there's something work related that's coming straight to me, like I hate having unopened emails, and like I hate having that red bubble on my phone, but that's a whole other conversation. But like if it's something that I know I'm going to have to address and to deal with, I don't open that email. I clear out all the trash ones that I don't need, but I just hold those, and they're going to be there on the first day that I go back to work. So I can't do anything physically when I'm away from there. So I'm going to wait to address it until I'm back at work.
Yeah. And, invite God into your rest, because the scripture is super clear that rest is not weakness. It's actually wisdom. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations, because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.